The 2017 Peachtree Corners Invitational broadcasts are brought to you by CBA Sports, your sports construction specialist. Hawks Basketball Academy and Junior Hawks Camps, designed to give Atlanta youth the ultimate basketball experience. Stat Row, view youth sports highlights whenever, wherever. Rock River Realty, market cultivators, ingenious solutions. Jim Ellis Automotive Group, expect the best. And Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Welcome here to the Peachtree Corners Invitational. We appreciate you joining us here at SUVtv Game Day with the On the Hardwood crew built by CBA Sports. I got the pleasure of being joined by the original members of the On the Hardwood crew, Horace Naismith, Desmond Eastman, and for all things Georgia basketball, the man with the plan, Kyle Sandy and Sandy Spiel. Fellas, how you guys doing today, man?
Man, great.
Feeling wonderful.
Good.
How can we not feel wonderful given the Georgia basketball that we've seen this season, but also today's slate of events?
Well, I tell you, this event has always been a good event. Over the last 4 or 5 years, I think it's been going on, and it's always an event where you have good matchups, you have good basketball. I like the fact that Jesse, Coach McMillan, who puts this on, he doesn't shy away. He's not trying to organize a win, and he has a great matchup today with Bishop O'Connell. So I think the event, the crowd, the atmosphere, I think we've seen it out of Georgia this year so far, and I feel we're going to have the same atmosphere tonight.
You know, I think the talent is one thing, but when you look at the events, I think Georgia has brought a ton of fire this season. Desmond, you firsthand have been involved with a couple of them there at the Wheeler Hoops Classic and the Tournament of Champions. Just talk about the torch that has been passed from event to event, team to team.
Well, these events couple from the talent that we have in Georgia this year, and we felt that there was a need for these kids to stay home and showcase their talent at home. For years, these teams have been going abroad during their holiday seasons and playing, but actually this year has been some very good basketball early. You have some teams that took some lumps, some quality teams, but you also have some teams that came out of nowhere. The McKeechans, undefeated, Newton, undefeated, and it springboard itself until for a great GHSA coming up, because I envision some very good games with them being at Georgia and Georgia Tech this year. Those are great basketball atmospheres, especially for high school. I expect February and March to be very, very good.
Looking forward to it. And then, Kyle, when we talk GHSA basketball, Des mentioned the talent that is in the state. I don't think anybody sees more than you do over the course of a season. Just what would be the best nutshell summary you give in terms of the team and individual talent when you look at Georgia this year?
I think Georgia, it's an all-time high with parity. You have all your great teams. You have your Wheelers, your Norcrosses, but you even have your Gainesvilles. You have your South Pauldings. You have Newton, who kind of came out of nowhere, but it's expected with that great guard play. There's a lot of teams that are beating a lot of other teams that are very good. You can't just roll the ball out and expect a W, because there's so much great talent all throughout the state, from North Georgia to South Georgia, East Georgia, West Georgia. Great talent all across the state of Georgia. And if you live in Georgia, you're truly blessed, because you can go anywhere. Just look outside, 20 minutes away from your house, you might have a Division I player playing right outside your door. So you got to love it.
And Des mentioned the strength of schedule when you look at the Atlanta area teams. 5 teams started the season in the top 25 when you look at Westlake, Wheeler, Norcross, Pebblebrook, and I believe there's one more that I'm leaving out, fellas. Jonesboro is also there in the conversation, so you're looking at teams that have played in national tournaments, and it's no surprise that there are 3 McDonald's All-Americans that were recently selected. Horace, kind of touch on that and just the historic milestone there.
Well, we haven't had 3 McDonald's out of Georgia since Dwight, Josh, and Randolph Morris way back in the early 2000s. I think that was 2003 or 2004, thereabouts. And all those guys deserve it. I think the one that was kind of on the bubble, kind of sealed his invitation, was M.J. Walker. That matchup he had with John Petty down at City of Palms, where he scored 40-plus in that game. If there was any doubt at that time, he kind of squashed that. And I think Colin Sexton, came on so strong last spring and summer, it was almost, hey, we got to give it to him. I mean, he earned it. And, of course, Wendell Carter is a player that since he was a freshman in high school, we kind of felt he was going down that path. And he continued to get better. He continued to deliver, and he earned that as well. So I'm happy for those guys. Congratulations to all three of you guys representing Georgia, and I'm sure you guys are going to do well in that game. You guys all earned it.
And that one team that I forgot, that was Green Forest. Ironically, they'll be playing later today against DeMatha. One hotbed versus another, as DeMatha represents that DMV area there. Now, Horace, you mentioned Colin Sexton. Desmond, I would love for you to touch on just, you mentioned that, it was one of those things where the committee had to give it to him. And I really think not only would Colin have been rightly upset, but I think the basketball streets would have been rightly upset. I'm not sure the basketball community would have let that go down. Just talk about the cult following that this young man has.
Mr. Excitement, that's what I call him.
Right.
I mean, he plays with an edge, and he comes to play every day, ultra competitive, and there's no stopping at him. A la Russell Westbrook, sometimes a little bit out of control, which, as he matures and gets older, I'm quite sure he'll get that under wraps. But for the most part, it's a joy to watch him every day, especially here in Georgia, as he's matured and grown into the player that he is now. It's a pleasure, especially seeing him from young.
Yeah.
We've been watching him since he was 10 years old. So for him, I'm not only happy for him, happy for his family, happy for the Pebblebrook community, the Hiram community, all of the trainers, the AAU programs he's played in along the way, Southern Stampede, Game Elite, Worldwide Renegades. I'm just happy for everybody that has touched his life to the point where he's now having some fruits of his labor.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to watch. Kyle, I would love for you to touch on not only the 3 McDonald's All-American Game selections, but also the wealth of nominees that came out of Georgia as a whole.
Yeah, it always has a lot of people getting selected. There's a lot of great choices. People like Alex O'Connell, who's going to Duke. He didn't get that McDonald's selection, but that's a guy that you could stick him in any state. He's going to be a top 5 player in that state with just the way he scores the ball and his swagger and his bounce. MJ Walker, you mentioned it over there. Jonesboro, they're starting to come along, had some early losses on that national schedule. Now they're starting to click. Jamari Smith is back healthy. He's been leading the charge over there in 6A. Wendell Carter, we all know about him. He is the real deal, 6'10", can put it on the floor, can shoot from the 3. He does a lot of great things. And then Colin Sexton, we all know about him. Swagger on the court. Sometimes you might love him. If you're not a fan of him and you're the opposing team, you might hate him with his antics. He really gets the crowd involved. Something he might need to tone down just a little bit in college, but that's what everybody loves about him, his fiery tenacity. And Georgia, it's just great. You got so many different types of talents all across the state. It's beautiful to watch all these guys play together.
One of the things I love about the word hate in sports is that I think it's synonymous with respect.
Right.
Nobody, quote unquote, hates the guy in sports that's, averaging 2.4 points, not coming off the bench. The guy that's electrifying, the guy that's trying to put your team under the court. He draws hate.
Well, and the more he feels that, the better he plays.
Exactly.
So it's almost like, okay, let's not go that route. Let's applaud him so we don't light that fuel.
Well, we got nothing but love for you guys that are here tuning in to the pregame show here at SUVtv Game Day. We're going to step away for a quick second, and after these messages, we'll be back to talk the specific slate here at today's Peachtree Corners Invitational.
The 2017 Peachtree Corners Invitational broadcasts are brought to you by CBA Sports, your sports construction specialist. Hawks Basketball Academy and Junior Hawks Camps, designed to give Atlanta youth the ultimate basketball experience. Stat Row, view youth sports highlights whenever, wherever. Rock River Realty, market cultivators, ingenious solutions. Jim Ellis Automotive Group, expect the best. And Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Well, it's a great day because today's just a small indication of our passion for the city of Atlanta. We're nothing without the fans. It is literally the foundation on what we build.
Well, they always say you can't bend a tree when it's on. So the time to pour in the young people is when they're young. And that's really what we're doing right now. These facilities, best-in-class facilities, is all about making sure that people have a strong foundation, strong fundamentals, and the Atlanta Hawks help making that possible.
Today is not just about basketball, it's about building a community, and the Atlanta Hawks and CBA Sports has been true to Atlanta in supporting all of our efforts to invest in various communities all across the city.
We're here with William Walker, who this Ben Hill court was formerly named after now. William, what does it mean to you as well as the community to have this court?
Well, I think it means a whole lot to the community to have a safer court and a more of a beautiful court that the kids will have an opportunity to enjoy. We have approximately over 300 kids in our summer camp, and it will give them an opportunity to come out and really enjoy a nice looking court and a safe court, and hopefully what they will do, they will be able to elevate their skill level as they participate on this court.
I played basketball. This is where I started. I used to live up the street from here, so this park means the world to me. But building bridges is something that we are obligated to do because kids emulate everything we do. So this is huge for the community, and the fact that the Hawks CBA Sport Court has come out to put a beautiful court down here and really make it a fun experience is what it's all about.
You know, it's always good for kids to get a head start on life, and you know, when people, you know, in the Atlanta Hawks organization take the time out to kind of, you know, get kids the cheat codes to, you know, succeed, it's a beautiful thing. You know, I run a foundation myself, and you know, anytime Atlanta Hawks come out, you know, I've always want to try to show my face and, you know, try to take notes and, you know, really learn how to make a difference.
This just enhances their dreams and their opportunities to be able to, you know, dream big and try to do big things, and it's a positive environment. So that's what's most important.
The Hawks are committed to renovating or building 25 basketball courts over 5 years and are well on their way. And I've been to almost every single one of them, but this may be one of the best I've ever seen.
Well, I think the Hawks have really, you know, recognized that basketball is their core. You know, they started doing a lot of other things, and then kind of when Steve Koonin came in, he said, hey, we're about basketball, so let's bring basketball into communities that may not have the best. We all grew up with, like, you know, the peach crate or, you know, the milk, you know, holder or whatever, but never a court like this. I mean, you're talking about something that's totally covered, something that's totally lit. Imagine how many hours are going to be played on this court for kids who may not have a chance to actually see. I mean, this is state of the art.
Well, I think what resonates with me is William Walker, who we named the court after today. He was a coach for 50 years in this community, and what the Hawks are investing in is not only the youth. We do some coaches clinics year-round, so it just speaks to the volume that a coach can impact all of these kids, and the Hawks are doing a small part in training those coaches and hopefully having an impact on the city of Atlanta.
This court means so much to the community of Atlanta because people look at the Atlanta Hawks for inspiration. They look at us to help lead the community in a variety of ways, and when we think about our children and millennials and new generations that we're trying to touch, this is really a great way for us to directly impact the youth and to keep them engaged with our brand and keep them engaged with the game of basketball.
That's it. A lot of people talk about building bridges, but here you actually see a bridge being built. This is a tangible, actual tangible, something you can touch and look at it. Like I said, once again, when you look at the kids' faces, they're running around, playing basketball, eating ices, hot dogs, and all that. What more can you ask for on a summer day in hot Atlanta?
The Atlanta Hawks are a community asset. We say that over and over. So what you have to do is figure out ways to bridge to the community. Building basketball courts is our way to bridge to the community. We're looking for other ways, but this is one, and it's worked, and it will continue to work, and we're committed to it.
CBA Sports is amazing. I have literally watched them do so many court renovations, and this particular court is just absolutely phenomenal. I love the coloring that they used. I love the creative design on it. I think that it's so unique. You definitely can't find it in any other community, and so CBA means so much to the Atlanta Hawks because they truly put all of their creative energy into every court they do for us.
Marcus Burnett back here with the On the Hardwood crew, and Horace Naismith and Desmond Eastman, and then Kyle Sandy from Sandy Spiel joining us here for SUVtv Game Day, built by CBA Sports. Fellas, let's talk about this buffet of matchups that we have lined up here today. The first one will be Miller Grove versus Winston-Salem Prep. I think you got to have a minimum number of championships to even compete in this Horace, your thoughts?
Yeah, Mill Grove has won their fair share of championships over the last 7-8 years. They've won 7 championships, I think it was, or is, over the last 8 years. So, you know, they come in with obviously tradition. They come in with a style of play that's been embedded in them over the last 8 years. I think I got Winston-Salem in this matchup just from a historical perspective. They've played hard, they've played intense, they've played full court basketball, put a lot of pressure on the ball. And Mill Grove, I saw them struggle a little bit with that during the Tournament of Champions when they went on that 3-game losing streak. So I'm looking for it to be a great game. But I'm going on an outside mission here and going with Winston-Salem on this one.
Now consider that an appetizer. We're not giving any other predictions until right before the game's moving forward. So Horace is just going to kind of pay it forward, give you guys just a little bit of a teaser, and then you'll have to tune in with us for the rest of the day to get the rest of the predictions. So we'll touch base with Dez now. Dez, what are your thoughts on this game and just some of the general dynamics?
Can you say guard play?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're going to have. It's going to be up and down. Great matchup. One of the most underrated players that in Georgia basketball right now, Tay Hardy. You know what I mean? And he's an unsigned senior. Athletic guard, great body, great motor, gets to the cup at will, defends up and down. Miller Grove has a couple of young players, Jalen Mason and Harvey, which I think, you know what I mean, they have a great feel for the game. They're going to be decent. But to me, Winston-Salem's depth, not only at the guard play, but their experience is what is going to drive this game. And I think it's up and down matchup, but you know what I mean, it's going to be one that's exciting, especially a great way to tip off the Classic today.
Agreed. Kyle, your thoughts?
Miller Grove, kind of a slow start to the season to their terms of, you know, 7 state championships in 8 years. So 10-6 start, now 11-6. They had a tough game last night against a rivalry opponent. Southwest DeKalb won 61-52 after they were losing at the half. Tay Hardy had 25 points in that game, but playing against Winston-Salem Prep, a team that likes to play tough defense. I watched Miller Grove kind of struggle in a scrimmage against Gainesville, and Gainesville put a full court press on them. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jalen Mason, Maurice Harvey, Tay Hardy, how the guards do against Winston-Salem Prep's defense.
One note to keep in mind, mentioned Miller Grove winning 7 out of the last 8 state championships. Winston-Salem Prep had won 3 straight, I believe, there through 2011 through 2014, and they've been runner-up in their state championships the past 2 years. So both teams with championship expectations year in, year out. Let's move on to the next matchup, fellas. Big one here. It'll be Greensboro Day taking on Wheeler. Horace, your thoughts?
Again, another team, Greensboro Day, historically has been really good, well-coached team. They got some really good players. The young kid, or junior, I should say, Will Dillard, I think is going to be a difference maker for them in this game. Matched up against a good Wheeler team, a Wheeler team that to this point, if you ask them, have not reached the level of expectations that they had for the season. But a team that at any point in time could really turn it on and win out the rest of the season. So they have the ability to do that with the E.J. Montgomerys, the Jordan Tuckers, my man from Louisville, my brain is working, Darius Perry. So they have the opportunity to do those things. It's just a matter of, from a chemistry standpoint, putting that together and putting that out on the floor. And I think this could be a good start for them to get this win, because Greensboro Day is a very good team.
You know, in pre-production, Desmond, you talked about how with the strength of schedule that Wheeler has, how they've taken on some beasts out of state, and there's been that in-state demon that they've dealt with. How do you feel like they'll perform on this stage with a great chance to rectify that here today?
To date, Wheeler goes as Darius Perry goes. If he's on his game and he's getting everybody involved, defensively locked in and valuing the basketball, it's hard to beat Wheeler. And they've proven that with the Chick-fil-A championship, with their run and flying to the hoop this past week. Greensboro Day is a tough team. Solid, you know what I mean? Decent size, but they play tough. They're well coached, and they're going to come in. I watched them play twice. They played Quade Green with Newman Garrotti, took a tough loss there. Then they took a tough loss to Hamilton Heights in Chick-fil-A. But both games, they were ultra competitive, executed, you know what I mean, and it was down to the stretch. So this game, depending on Wheeler's approach, depending on, once again, Darius Perry, you know what I mean, how he drives that Cadillac, that'll determine how this game will go.
Kyle Sandy, your thoughts on Wheeler-Greensboro Day?
If Greensboro Day gets Wheeler into a half-court offense, makes Wheeler try and move the ball around, that's when they kind of have a little bit of issues. They're really good in the open floor when Jordan Usher's streaking down the floor and they're throwing it ahead and getting slam dunks and alley-oops and lobs, and Jordan Tucker's thriving on the open floor. But if Greensboro Day can slow them down and say, hey, we want you to make 6, 7, 8, 9 passes before you get a good shot off, then it could be difficult for Wheeler. And like we said, Wheeler had a little bugaboo playing in the state of Georgia. They're playing an out-of-state opponent right now. It's a good chance for them to get their momentum going in the right direction heading into the region tournament.
All right, fellas, we got roughly 6 or 7 minutes to work with, so we're going to rapid fire here moving forward. Next up, Bishop O'Connell taking on Norcross. Boris.
Well, this is Norcross's home court, so I look for them to come out and play inspired basketball. They're playing against a very good team out of one of the toughest, if not the toughest, conference in the country for high school in Bishop O'Connell. And Bishop O'Connell has a group of talented kids as well, so I look for that to be a really, really good matchup.
Desmond.
Bishop O'Connell, coached by Joe Wooten, offspring of Morgan Wooten. What does that say? Good basketball, pedigree. I expect Norcross to come out, play their game. The bigs from Norcross should dominate, you know what I mean? But who knows, you know what I mean? They definitely have to get the basketball in a position where they can score, where they can be effective. Jesse's defense, his coaching will help them in this.
Kyle Sandy.
Norcross, they've been playing very well this year. Rayshawn Hammond's going to Georgia, has had a great season. Lance Thomas going to Louisville, a great season. I want to see what they do against Nate Watson, who's going to Providence for Bishop O'Connell, and then Matt Lewis going to James Madison, a nice little forward there. I want to see who wins the Battle of the Paint and gets the easy buckets inside.
We move on to Green Forest DeMatha. That one will tip off at 7 p.m. Forest.
DJ Harvey led the Matha program that's been one of the top programs in the country for, 30, 40, 50 years, coached by legend Morgan Wooten from years back. So, I look for them to come out very aggressively. DJ Harvey has things to prove. He did get slighted some feel on the McDonald's selection. He played great right after that, so I look for him to come in here and play well today. And of course, Green Forest coming in with their Justin Forrest, him being healthy, him being a guy that they really needed all year, and what a better time to come in and for this game. So I look for that matchup to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Green Forest size is definitely going to play a part, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be too much DJ Harvey. And they don't have he's a mismatch waiting to happen. And he can score in many places at 3 levels. And I believe it's going to be a great game. I had a chance to watch both teams, get a chance to watch them firsthand. And I think that Green Forest will struggle scoring the ball, and that will be the difference.
Kyle.
Green Forest usually overwhelms their opponents with their size. Ike Abiagu going to Florida State, a 7-footer, great shot blocker. But DeMatha has a lot of size inside as well. Joshua Carlton going to UConn. Again, this is another game where I want to see who protects the paint better, who can score inside, and who can control the glass.
A couple notes to keep in mind. DeMatha has played in this event before. They took on Pebblebrook back in a few weeks back, or a few years back when Jared Harper was still on the team, Ty Hudson, Derek Obedi. So they're no stranger to facing big-time competition in Georgia in this event. And also, you mentioned DJ Harvey feeling slightly slighted at the McDonald's All-American snub. The last player that felt a little slighted there at DeMatha was Markel Fultz. I think he's doing pretty well out there at Washington, just to, if I had to make an assumption. So we move on. From Green Forest DeMatha, we will wrap the day up with Shiloh versus Gardner Magnet. Your thoughts, Horace?
Not familiar with Garner. This will be my first time watching them. Just looking at the roster, they're a junior, senior-led team. So what I expect from them is, they're not going to beat themselves. And I think Shiloh has struggled a little bit again with pressure. It'll be interesting to see how they respond to Garner this afternoon or this evening, I should say. But I look for that also to be an entertaining matchup.
Yes.
I think it'd be too much Massenburg. I think Massenburg should have a big game today. And with Coffey going to North Florida, I think he's going to be the catalyst and running the show for Shiloh. But I expect a good game to finalize the tournament.
And last but not least, Kyle.
Shiloh's had a disappointing season, sitting at just 11-8 right now. They struggle to score the ball sometimes. They're always going to play hard defense and keep games close, but they're going to really have to rely on Greg James to stretch the floor. If he gets hot, hits 4 or 5 threes, then they can beat Gardner Magnet. If not, they're going to struggle to put points on the board, and that could be an issue.
Well, that will do it for the pregame show here at the Peachtree Corners Invitational. Don't go anywhere. Just in minutes, we'll tip off Miller Grove versus Winston-Salem Prep. We'll have our predictions across the board for that game. Until then, I'm going to get these guys in a game of 21 here on the court built by CBA Sports. We'll catch you back here for more Peachtree Corners Invitational.
I'm not losing.
Because he's not playing.